Hi, welcome to the Nursing Dose with your host, Dr. Farah Laurent. Today, I have a very special guest. I have Dr. Jamla Rizek, and she's going to be talking about her book that she just recently published. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship, all things business, but really specifically about books. Okay. And of course, if you don't know me and you're new to the show, I'm the host of Nurses Making Business Moves and the conference coming up in March 6th and 7th. So let's get into it. If you want to say hi to everybody and introduce yourself, I know you're doing a lot of important work out there.
Hi, Dr. Laurent. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to be here with you, and I absolutely am in awe of all the work that you do and the entrepreneurship, and I'm just honored to be here to kind of share my story of where I am in this world.
Awesome. Well, we've been following each other probably for a while. I think I reached out to you on LinkedIn, in our LinkedIn community, and I was, in awe of everything that you're doing. But let's focus a little bit about, I guess, your nursing journey.
Sure.
What inspired you to, number one, want to write this particular book? And then if you want to just tell, everybody what the book is about.
Sure. So, Adventures with Nurse Jamla is a platform that is dedicated to disaster preparedness and emergency response. So, in my almost 20 years of nursing experience, pre hospital, flight EMS, I've worked all over the world, and I have found that there are so many opportunities for nurses who potentially have stories that they want to share that made an impact in their lives. And unfortunately, those stories don't always get shared. I
Mhm.
also think that representation matters. And so I wanted to finally put a collection of some of the most impactful missions that I have had and what I learned from them. And I wanted it to come across as, what we do every day is so meaningful, but unless we share it, we're never going to learn from each other. I also think that having an author who is Palestinian, who wears a headscarf, who isn't your typical person that you would expect, is another reason why this was so important for me to get out there, because there are so many stories from people that we want to hear, but again, they're being blocked or resistant, or perhaps they're afraid to share. And so
Yeah.
we know we have to support one another as women. And this is why this platform is incredible, but then also just recognizing that, women need to support each other regardless of where they are or what they look like.
Oh my goodness. I love it. And this is like the whole messaging, right? I think we have a lot in common, you and I,
Mhm.
and also just a lot of nurses in general. I'm a first gen immigrant as well. I immigrated from, West Africa and moved to Canada. I have a Lebanese background. I don't share that too much, but, growing up multicultural, it is also important to me to increase diversity in nursing, as you're mentioning, and representation matters. This is why I also love this platform, like you said, just being on social media, sharing stories, writing books like you've written your book, and letting nurses know the different opportunities out there, just beyond the bedside, because a lot of times nursing school just focuses on bedside, but there's so many things that we could be doing. So obviously entrepreneurship, I'm calling it like a silent revolution. I think a lot of nurses are transitioning to entrepreneurship, whether they're doing it on a part-time basis, or wanting to do it full time. There's
Absolutely.
there's nothing wrong with that. So this is,
No.
part of my messaging is, number one, female empowerment. I'm all about that.
Amen.
Um,
Amen, sister.
yeah, and
Amen.
that's why March is very important, Women's History Month, and
Mhm.
also International Women's Day. I specifically strategically put my conference that weekend. And some
I
people
love
are like,
it.
oh, is this just for nurses or for females? And I'm like, no, anyone can come who's
Right.
interested in business. But I wanted my message to be super clear because women have, I'm not going to go through the struggle
No, but
historically.
we all know what they are. We know what they are. And this is why that conference that's coming up, the fact that you have it on International Women's Day, girl, that is like so meaningful. Like, people, if you have not registered yet, please do, because I'm
Yes.
already like jealous. I have FOMO already.
Yeah, and and it's not just nurses, it's
Right.
also other entrepreneurs, because that's what I like about what you're doing as well, is to show nurses that it doesn't have to be everything just in nursing. A lot of times nursing school, we get so identity
Narrow-minded.
focused as like,
Yep.
we're a nurse, we're in this lane, but there's
Mhm.
so many opportunities. Like, you're doing consulting. Can you talk a little bit about how you got into consulting?
Absolutely. And I agree with you. Sometimes we're pigeonholed or we're like narrow-minded.
Yeah.
So throughout my experience of working all over the world and connecting with nurses that have or organizations that have gaps and the nurses want to be heard, this is one of the things that I was really passionate about. So I've gone and I've provided consultations in regard to how to improve disaster preparedness specifically for nurses. And then we've gone and tailored that to, okay, now that we have the nursing part all solid, how do we work together? Because interoperability is so critical. I
Yeah.
know I'm an ED nurse by heart, but like EMS, law enforcement, everybody else, from the person that removes the snow to the groundskeeper to all the way up in the hospital, we need to work together. And I think that's one of the gaps that people don't take advantage of until there's a disaster, and then they're like, oh well, we forgot about this person or how it's going to impact the housekeeper. Well, if we thought
Yes.
about that in the first place and included them, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You wouldn't even need me.
But they need you.
You need me. But this is the thing that's really eye-opening. I think a lot of it has some cultural to it, cultural component, but
Yeah.
we do need to be considerate of everybody. And I find that a lot of hospitals don't factor in all of their resources, and that's the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, and I love this. I mean, we could talk literally for hours about this.
We could.
My background as well is emergency
Mhm.
medicine, and
Yep.
I just love emergency medicine. People don't understand, like you said, the complexities that go into
Mhm.
being an emergency nurse, or just, emergency services in general,
Absolutely.
right? Obviously, for all the ER nurses or any nursing students, because I
Mhm.
love, obviously, as being a nurse career coach,
Yep.
absolutely love supporting this new generation of nurses to help them understand that you don't have to go the traditional route that everybody's telling you. Oh, you got to go to med surge first. Nothing
Right.
against med surge, but I want them to explore from the get go. Why would you waste time in a area
Exactly.
that you're not passionate about?
Exactly. That's
So
going to increase your burnout too. And so then we're going to have lesser nurses. Like, I'm with you 100%. Preach, girl. Because then what are we going to have? Less nurses, and we don't have enough now. Girl.
right, right. And it's like a revolving door. So I always say, and again, this is a call to action for a lot of hospital systems out there. Yes, I know it takes money to invest in education and consultants like yourself, but it's so worth it in the long term if you're thinking about financial impact of the hospital. Because if you're investing early on in the proper education, the right strategies and infrastructure, like you're mentioning, then you're facing the issues head like before, not being
You're
reactive.
better off. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're proactive rather than reactive. I say it all
yeah,
the time, girl. You're way better then.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've worked, like you said, in all over Canada, in the US as well.
Mhm.
And just being in one city or one hospital, you can see a lot of gaps of like
100%.
what needs to be done. And I think we don't have to go through it, but we kind of saw what was going on during COVID,
Mhm.
right? But there are
Mhm.
so many other things that need to be looked at, even just from a location perspective. Like you said, even preparing for something as simple as mass casualties. Like,
Absolutely.
people don't like you said, from housekeeping to registration, what is the plan? And do people know where to find it and how to implement it? It's, we don't want
It's
to wait
sad.
until it happens.
But you know what? You bring up an interesting point, because
Yeah.
during COVID, that's when we recognized that there were so many gaps. But honey, we should not have had COVID to highlight those issues.
Right, right.
COVID just identified all the gaps that we were not taking care of in the first place. And
Mhm.
that is one of the things. I'll share a snippet, sneak peek into one of the stories. I was looking for a chaplain for an elderly patient that was passing away,
Yeah,
and I could not find one. And I remember having to call everybody, and there was no resource. I was a traveler, there was nothing. So here I am holding the hand of a dying Catholic woman who just wanted last rites.
yeah,
And so that impact of where is that binder? Where is that information? Have you thought about that? And
yeah,
unfortunately, a lot of people don't until it's too late.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I know that's part of the reason you wrote this book.
Mhm.
You know, I wanted to also highlight the importance of, people, I'm sure you've heard this. Some people say, everybody has a book in them or perhaps several books, right? Um, there's something important. And, I'm a little bit old school as well. Like, I like,
Oh, yeah.
actual things I can hold and look at. So like digital is cool and everything, but like it's like a legacy that you're leaving behind when you write books, right? So if you could talk maybe a little bit about that and what opportunities you think can be unlocked, not only by just sharing your wisdom, your stories, but like by writing a book and being an author.
Absolutely. I love a tangible, like a book. I love the feel of it, the smell of it. I used to work in a library, so I feel you
Yeah.
on that one. One thing that I will say is that when people do get the book and they notice the cover is supposed to be very haunting. And the reason why is because as nurses, we talk about burnout all the time, but one of the things that people don't realize is that they do have the potential, as you said, to do so much more. And so as they're reading the stories, I hope that they envision themselves in that role, because we talked about nurses being pigeonholed or having to go to med surg. I want nurses to see themselves in
Mm.
each of those stories.
Yeah.
There's stories related to pediatrics, there's stories related to conflict and humanitarian work. I want a nurse, regardless of who they are, what they identify as, where they come from, to say, you know what, I can see myself in that story. I can see myself doing that. And I really hope to empower other nurses, because we know that there are a lot of inequities. And
Yeah.
I want people to recognize that you are going to take care of people that we don't always agree with, right? But patients are going to respond better when they have people that are accepting and understanding of them. I also have, I'll put a shameless plug at the end of the book. There is a call to action, because, like you, Dr. Laurent, I'm 100% for recognizing other nurses. I also think that there is a lot of stories, as you mentioned, that do need to be shared. And so it's a call to action for nurses that do want to share that story. Let's collectively put them together to make our voices heard.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so important. Like I said, you're making a lot of impact in different ways, not only in education, but like really globally, because this is a book that any nurse really globally can share. Do you have it next to you if you want to share?
No, I don't. I
Oh,
didn't even get my copy, girl. I didn't even get mine yet. Oh,
girl, listen, and I wrote a book, I'm always like self-promoting.
where is it?
So this is the book, Nurses Making Money Moves. A nurse's guide to starting a business. So definitely check out Jamla's book. It's on. I
It's
put the
on
link.
Amazon. It can be purchased all over the world. Disaster Diaries, Stories and Reflections from the Field. There is a Kindle version, because a lot of the people said they wanted an audio version,
Yeah,
but it's available wherever books are sold in your country. So it is available internationally as well.
that's awesome. And I put the link there so you guys can go and
Awesome.
grab it.
Thank you.
So yeah, and as you mentioned a little bit before we even went live, we
Mhm.
always have plans, or like we're like, oh, we're gonna get this book, you know,
Yep.
uh launched here or there, right? And it's like, sometimes our plan
Right.
don't doesn't always happen. But the fact that you executed, right? And that's the thing I would
Amen.
tell people. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Right.
Just get it out there. So can you talk about a little bit of like, maybe some inspiring words to someone out there who wants to write a book, that could potentially unlock opportunities for them, like maybe consulting or speaking engagements.
Absolutely.
What would you tell them?
Yeah, I think some words of wisdom that I would say to people is that don't think what you have to share isn't important enough. I do think that sometimes, people are like, oh, well, you don't have to worry about that because they know about this already. Don't assume. One thing I've learned from being in other countries and working alongside diverse and international people,
Yeah.
they don't know the same things that you know. So maybe you and I are talking the same language, right, Dr. Laurent? You and I know the same thing, but that doesn't negate what others, may want to know about. And I think there's that fear that, oh, well, everybody knows about this. You're not sharing anything new. I disagree. I
Yep.
think that the news that you are going to be sharing is going to be just as important if it was in a different environment. So
Right.
don't pigeonhole yourself. Reach out if we can support you in any way. If you are interested in, entrepreneurship, your conference is coming up. I highly recommend that people go and attend that, especially because it's on International Women's Day. Girl, you got me there. But also, don't be afraid. I think that
Yeah.
there's a lot of fear, but we see that nurses are already burnt out. So if we
Yeah.
don't go ahead and be proactive now, what's going to be left of our career? And what's going to happen to our patients when they don't have solid nurses to care for them? That's what's really bothering me.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing too is, and this is not just for nurses, also any entrepreneurs out there that are interested in writing a book. There are people also doing the audio style. Like maybe you don't want to sit down and write it. Look at all the different tools that you have available. You can actually just speak your words out into a book, which I think is probably super good because I follow a lot of marketers, like Gary Vee is one of them. And I think that's why his books also resonate because it sounds like him, right?
Yeah.
So those, if you think you have to sit there and actually, do old school, you could do it the
No.
way you want to at your pace, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that at your pace is so important. We mentioned this before you and I were talking. I had wanted to publish this book of stories for a long time. It's not a memoir, not at all. It's literally stories that have impacted me personally from
Mhm.
my missions. But I always had an excuse, or I was like, what, it's not good enough, or let me refine it, or I'm going to do it myself. And no, then I got this mistake, or I didn't like the way this sounded, or somebody I sent it to said it was too cheesy. And then finally, I realized all of that was just noise.
Mhm.
And I was either going to put up or shut up. And I decided to just finally do it. And that's when it was supposed to come out in December, but I'm so glad that I just finally pulled the plug and it is live now and available for purchase.
Yeah, please go and check out her book. I mean, she has a wealth of experience and knowledge that really goes beyond just nursing or healthcare, right? Because a lot of these
Absolutely.
stories, you know, even you could buy it as a gift for other people or whatever. And, I think more than ever, we always need community, but
Absolutely.
I'm not even going to get into a lot of these social, political things that are going on.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
nurses on strike. There's a lot of things,
Absolutely.
but really the question is, what are you going to do about it? So,
Amen.
what are you going to do about, from an advocacy point, from an impact perspective? What is your purpose? What is the impact you want to make? And if you don't like your current state, like the situation you're in, whether it's your career, your financials, whatever, what are you currently doing about it? Too many of us,
Absolutely.
including myself, because I go in and out of it, I sometimes stay too comfortable. And like you said, just
Yep.
put the stuff out there because people are waiting,
Yeah.
people are needing it. People need your social media posts, your
Absolutely.
videos. Like somebody, like shout out to somebody that is in a business mastermind. Her name's Jory. She put up like a faith-based post on LinkedIn. A lot of people are afraid to talk about God on LinkedIn and whatever. And
Sure.
she put something about like some faith-based thing. And I was like, you know what? I needed that today. So I shouted her out. So
Yep.
don't be afraid to get out there on social media as
Absolutely.
an expert, as a thought leader.
Yep.
And so many opportunities can
Mhm.
unlock, right? So
I
like
agree.
the book is
Mhm.
one way, but I've seen so many people just write one book and
Yep.
have blown up. For example, I used to work with an emergency physician, Dr. Uche Blackstock at
Mhm.
NYU, and she's like blown up from this book, right?
Yep.
So same, I hope that if anybody's watching, from let's say schools, any universities, news channels. Reach out to Dr. Jamla. She is an
Mhm.
expert. Um, and reach out to her, you know?
Absolutely. I'm on all social media platforms, Adventures with Nurse Gemla. Even if I can't find what you need or fill that gap, the connections that we can build together, I will find somebody who you can talk to about whatever your need or your niche is. And I think that's why it's so important as nurses, we continue that conversation and that dialogue, especially now when we are in a very polarized world. We need to come together more rather than separate us. I think we're
Yeah.
very divided and we need to unite us. And nurses, there's a reason why we're the most trusted profession, right? Like, shout out to all the nurses.
Yeah, exactly. And, again, one of my big messaging for nurses, even if you come to the conference or not, but I mean, you should come to the conference because
Obviously.
it's going to be one of the best conferences of the year. But I want nurses, and not just like experienced nurses
Right.
or nurses that want to go into business. I want nurses to start breaking down the old traditional narratives and to start being more innovative in all aspects. Like you
Mhm.
said, don't pigeonhole yourself in just one
Huh?
thing, because we need to be, like you said, more solution focused and more collaborative.
I
Okay.
agree.
I've reached out to people, across the globe. People have messaged me
Mhm.
and said, "Hey, I love your content. I love this,
Mhm.
whatever." It's really a time, like you said, to be in community, to support each other. Um, and this is why I'm so excited about your book and
Thank
what
you.
the next step is for you. So what would you say to anyone out there, specifically nurses, whether they're nursing students or a veteran nurse that wants to write a book or maybe wants to do consulting, what are some pieces of advice for them?
I think the one piece of advice that I would have for nursing students specifically is if you don't know where you want to go right after nursing school, it's okay. Because again, I think there's this trauma that I have to be here, I have to do this. And I think that if they find other avenues, like especially like you said, say somebody's interested in the business side, but they don't have enough experience. Well, you're not going to get the experience or know what you need unless you diversify yourself. Go to the conference, get some information. You'll meet with veteran nurses, other novice nurses. You may get some ideas spreading. I think that for our veteran nurses, as somebody who's been in it for almost 20 years, I
Mm.
do think that we need to adapt and accommodate a little bit more and not be so rigid. I think there's a lot of advances in technology. And I think that if you are looking for avenues to right, I think you can start to be innovative and say, hey, these are some challenges I'm seeing, and work alongside the student nurses, collaborate with each other. What are some gaps? And then put that into practice, because that's how we change curriculum, that's how books get made, and that's how practices change. Without that collaboration back and forth, we're going to be
Yeah.
stagnant.
And, to wrap it up, I love what you're saying too. One of my big messages from whether you're a nursing student all the way up in your career is the power of networking, the power of building a brand, asking for help, asking other people, for guidance. Obviously,
Amen.
I'm also a nurse career coach and I help guide these new generation of nurses. I mean, like you said, you don't have to have it all figured out. And that's the beauty of our profession. Like, what profession like nursing can you be in and you do like a million different roles,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So it's,
Oh,
and I always like to highlight as well, yes, there are, challenges in nursing and
yes.
healthcare, but it honestly is one of the best professions out there.
Amen. I agree. I
And
agree.
like you said, you can really make global impact. If you want to write, but you're hesitant, one big tip I have is just start writing. There are so many people that have writing type services where you can write a
Absolutely.
blog, you could start your own
Yep.
blog, you could start newsletters on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
or just
Absolutely.
like I used to write for um oh my gosh, a publisher, Springer.
I'm sure.
They had a couple different things, and I would like once in a while write a couple things. So start doing those things so you get your name out
Absolutely.
there.
Mhm.
Um, So yeah,
There's
so
lots of journals too. Journals too, like Journal of Emergency Nursing. That's one way to do it. There's lots of ways to do it. We just need to go ahead and make sure that we're sharing those opportunities with people.
yeah, if you're part of your the American
Organization.
Nurses Association, you're part of the state chapters.
Absolutely.
I was in Florida for a little while, and I wrote in there, right? There's so many, it doesn't have to be like a traditional publication. It can,
Absolutely.
or it could be something else, but definitely get out there and start writing. So, tell everybody how they can reach you.
Everybody reaches me at adventureswithnursejamla.com. That's my website. And it's Adventures with Nurse Jamla on all social media platforms. So up scrolled, Instagram, LinkedIn is Jamla Rizek. And then on TikTok, it's Adventures with Nurse Jamla.
Awesome. I love it. And, hopefully, God willing, the next conference, 2027, I will see you there.
Can't wait. So excited. Thank you for making this happen for all those people that really want to go ahead and pursue an avenue outside of the traditional nursing role.
Yes, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
I would love to have you back on at a later time and tell me about the journey of the book. Please support her. Go get the book, share this, repost this, and get her book. And again, tell them the title of the book.
Disaster Diaries, Lessons Learned from the Field.
Awesome. And then I'll put the links again below in the comments. Please write any comments or questions you guys have in the replay. We'll watch it back. And again, thank you for watching. This is the Nursing Dose with Dr. Farah Laurent and
Jamla Rizek. Bye, everyone.